Do you love this woman? Would you burn down the city for her? Would you stop breathing if she died? Would you kill yourself before you allow someone else to harm her?
Wait,
Oh
it keeps
my
going. It keeps going because then he says, "Because I would serve my head on a stake to save Haley. I would set the entire world on fire and watch her rise through the ashes, and I would end anyone responsible for misplacing a single hair on her head. And I'm not going to end this war until I know she is safe."
I mean,
Yes.
welcome to Morally Gray Babes. We're your hosts, Jen and Amber, two unapologetic book addicts diving deep into the steamiest reads, hottest book boyfriends, and those spicy moments that make you blush.
Amber here, and we're not just here to talk plot twists and character arcs. We're breaking down everything from our favorite quotes to the spice levels that really bring the heat.
Expect a lot of laughs, a little cussing, and some seriously hot takes. Whether we're gushing over fictional men or dishing out the truth on what books deserve the hype, nothing is off limits.
So buckle up, Buttercup, and get ready for real, raw, and totally unfiltered book talk. Because we're the book besties you didn't know you needed.
Well, hello, Amber.
Hey, Jen. All right, the Marley Gray Babes are here, and we're diving into Her Vengeful King by A.N. Stauber. I feel like that's the last name. If I butchered it, I'm sorry. This is a standalone Mafia romance, the Black Heart series, and can be read in any order, but for maximum character experience, you should proceed in the numbered order. And Black Heart's novellas are not standalone romances. That's what the author wanted to mention. For me, this was like she mentioned, it's an Irish mafia romance. It has who did this to you vibes and burn the world down for her. Yummy. So, Jen, how about you give us a little synopsis?
Yeah. So it's from the USA Today and international best-selling author, as you mentioned, A.N. Stauber, and comes binge-worthy mafia romance. And
So good.
let's just note that it is binge-worthy. I mean, you could not get any more bingy, binge-worthiness, whatever. Callum Murphy, intense, overbearing, proactive. When he shows up with a gunshot wound and asks me to lie to the police, I knew I had a decision to make. I could risk my entire career to protect him, or I could do the right thing and turn him in. The choice should have been easy, but it was not. Not when the brother was my friend. Not when his brother was my friend. Lines were blurred, and suddenly the morals in my life were tipped upside down. We'd been taught to trust those in uniform, but what if the monster standing before me, swearing to keep me safe, aren't the bad guys at all? What if he was the only one who could save me from myself? Everyone thought I was a liar except him, and he took justice into his own hands. So good.
I'm just like swooning because I know this guy. I know this book boy.
Who's added to our book boyfriend list? Let's just put it out there.
Okay,
Fly up on that list.
so the other part of the blurb is Haley's point of view. Haley's the vino, cold, distant, secretive. Everything she was, I shouldn't want. She stole my breath away the second I laid eyes on her and earned my protection when she proved her loyalty. But something was haunting her, and when she finally told me the truth, I stopped at nothing to bring her vengeance. Boston thought I was evil, but if loving her was wrong, I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Okay, let me give you this dedication too because it's yummy. First of all, any books that don't have a dedication are getting a big fat boo for
They
me.
do have words. They do have
I love dedication. So this one is to all the girls with dirty minds and thirsty hearts. You're about to embark down a mudslide of dirty Irish men.
uh, oh, so,
Yeah.
I think so I finished this book before Jen, and I remember reaching out to you and saying, "Callum can do no wrong." Like, I love this man. I like, he's morally black character.
Black, black, black.
Freaking love him. Like, Love him. So
I still have goosebumps when
I love him so much. But before we dive into this book, I'm going to tell you the triggers. So if anything is too much for you, please stop this podcast. Don't pick up this book. But if you're able to, keep listening. So, this book includes, but not limited to, violence, explicit language, sexual content, murder, torture, descriptive mention of off page sexual abuse, detailed mention of child grooming off page, stalking, which is not done by the male character, PTSD, childhood trauma, and substance abuse. This is a story of a woman overcoming the traumas of her past and growing into this badass queen that fate always intended her to be. It's heavy and emotional for the female main character, and that's the truth. Like,
it is there were parts we could not I mean, I got through, but it was hard to read. So,
it was hard. Um,
tiny portions though, because if you take the whole book as a whole, it's
okay,
perfection.
so we have this woman who's a doctor, a trauma surgeon, which I love because my backstory is also I'm an emergency veterinarian, so I love women doctors, like badass. Um, so I love that part of her. She has a very traumatic childhood, period, in a sentence, and where she had to leave, and she's never really dealt with that. And so she kind of like forced herself to become the best trauma surgeon. I feel like she's just like this adrenaline junkie. Like she was kept trying to
Yeah.
keep her mind busy so she's not um reminded of all the demons of her past. And it's finally caught up to her, right? As she tries to tamper it down when she's not in surgery with alcohol and substance abuse. So,
Never.
um, and then she runs into Callum, and Callum is about to step up to be the head of the Irish Mafia in Boston. And
Okay.
this man could do no wrong. Like everything that this woman faced in this book, he just handled it, I thought, so well. And I just feel like he could do no wrong. And you can't tell me he could do wrong. So
Okay, so I wanna know, like, how many times in this book did you, like, swoon and then go, "Oh my god, I can't believe I'm swimming." Like, I did that a few times through this book where I'm like, "I cannot believe" like, in real life, it wouldn't even just be red flag, it would be like
black flags, like
yeah, like, flag everywhere, right? It's he's a murderer, like, it's let's just throw it out there, and a torturer.
he it's a joke in the book with his family, right? Who are all part of the mafia, except for the sister, that they wear black to not get blood on them, right? So
Not show blood,
sure,
yeah.
yeah. So I'm like, oh, that's cool, disgusting. It's like that. But first, let's just talk. There are nicknames, which is one of my favorite things. So nicknames, Hallie calls Callum her Black Clover at the like 1 or 2 times.
And Griffin calls Hallie savvy.
Savvy, that's like that's
Short
military
review.
her military compadres. Callum called her Lass, which she hated, and then he would
And Lassie, Lass and Lassie, he kinda interchanged, which I loved.
and then he switched to calling
Roar
her Love,
loved.
and then towards the she would
When we
also call him baby, which he liked.
Yes.
I I don't know. I don't like the nickname baby, and she called him
She
baby, and I was like, oh, that was crazy to me, but everybody works.
yeah, it's not my it's a very popular nickname, so many people are listening to this podcast and are like, "I call my husband baby." Like, you can call your significant other whatever you
Whatever you
want,
want. It's just
but my husband and I call each other love or lover.
oh, and
Um,
I call my husband, my hubster, Love Muffin.
my husband calls me Oceus, which is a weird made up nickname that he started a long time ago.
So
Like,
sweet,
I know, my
right?
baby.
Hubster calls me Smelly, and that's like
Nice.
well, it's because in college, I would call him, Gilbo, right? That his name is Gil. I would call him Gilbo, and he would always say, "I love you, smelly fart," and I would think he was saying, "Sweetheart." And like, he would 'cause I played the flute in the band when he was on the football field, and he mouths, "I love you, sweetheart." He was actually saying, "I love you, smelly fart."
That is
Yes, he
hilarious.
thought so.
It's not a great nickname.
No, like,
But it stuck.
it's stuck and it was hard. I read books and everything else wrong, like, from her nickname Sunshine. Her nickname is a little dove. I got really fucking hard. Very interesting.
All right, let's get into
Then
I think one thing I really loved about the book
mm,
is how the author made me like somebody that I would normally not like
mm.
in real life. I love that. I feel like it takes a
Who would you not like in real life?
like Callum.
Seriously?
He's a torturing murderer.
But he has his reason. Okay, so I actually love the storyline. There were a few minor plot twists with Haley having a stalker, which seemed obvious to the reader who it was going to be. But overall, the storyline was well done. I absolutely loved Haley's journey towards loving herself and learning to lean on others, then finding her strength.
Fast.
Yeah. And then finding the strength to put herself first and forgive and let others in. Love.
I love the change of POVs. We talk about this a lot on this because I think we're very particular about what we want, I guess, but I hate when it's one POV or just like two POVs, and I loved how they changed POVs. So every time I was wondering what the other person's inner dialogue was, then I would have a POV with that person. Like, it was great
I
timing.
don't think anything is better than reading a book and it's like you're reading it, it's like you finally get to the male's point of view and you realize that he has fallen first and fucking hard. And I'm like,
Yeah. That she gives no sort of sign that she would pick up, and there's always that miscommunication, which oftentimes drives me nuts, but in this book, it was
oh my
well
God.
done.
Okay, so please, Callum is perfection. I will say it again. You cannot like him in real life. I loved him.
No, he is
He's
he might be the top of my book boyfriend list.
so possessive, protective. He understands where he does something wrong. And in his dark, twisted heart, he does his best to make the situation right. Like, he is a morally black character who's completely smitten with this traumatized female main character who is working on silencing her own monsters. Like, perfect.
And he gets other people to help.
He, I,
He's oh,
Yeah, he does what he thinks is right, and I loved how he handled situations. I don't like how much time has passed, but it like, between things, like, it's like, "Oh, 2 weeks later." I'm like, "Oh, I could not stand being away from him for 2 weeks."
and I need to know what the F happened in those 2 weeks. Like,
It was really, but I did love the little dark humor quips in their internal dialogue. Um, and I
Rusty, we love snarky
love it.
characters.
I love it. But I absolutely love the way Callum dressed. It was old school gangster with, like, the white button-up shirt, the navy suit vest,
Best.
and the blue flat cap. Perfection. Like, this guy, I and if you read it and you're like, "Oh my god, he's so dark and twisted," don't come at me. Like, you're like,
Oh, I'm just telling
I
you,
just
there's
you're
books that we like that you may not like and books that you just won't listen to the podcast. Like, if, ugh, I know.
okay, so I do have questions about the book before we go into our quotes.
Okay.
So, or maybe not questions, or just things that, like, "Ugh, like, what is happening?" I got rather annoyed with her family, and I know it's part of the storyline, but I just got really annoyed with her family not believing her when she
Yes.
mentioned the trauma that she suffered. Like, my heart just broke for her because
It was
I
yeah.
I had a moment in my childhood where I had I don't know, like an authoritative figure not believe me. It wasn't
Mhm.
something that was truly traumatic. Like, it was
Right.
something that happened, like, as a kid. And I remember telling, this authoritative figure, like, what happened, and they just did not believe me, and I was like, "What about my character makes you think I'm a liar?" Like, and
Yeah.
I just heard like, hers was very traumatic and heartbreaking what happened to her and what she went through, and it just broke, and I felt like she had so much trauma, like, like, in those years where she was, like formative years, right? Like, she's
Sure.
and we're not gonna say the trauma that she went through, but,
Nope.
um, a few other things, like, so minor, but there was, like, a few typos throughout the book that, um,
I noticed a few too, which is shocking that they get through editing just because
it just
I'm
and I have no problems with typos because, like, you're human. Like, we make mistakes, but whenever it, like, takes you out of the story, it bothers me in that way. And there was, like, a quote that Callum says, like, "That's a girl," instead of "That's my girl." I was like,
yes.
"That's a girl." I'm like, "Yeah, she's a fucking woman." Like,
And she's not a girl, she is a woman.
but otherwise, I feel like there was no real story holes except for maybe 2 questions, that kept popping up, like, for upcoming members who we were introduced to, but, like, what happens with Scotty, the loyal Gord, and, what's her name, Cersei? Is that how you say it?
Well, I'm assuming that there are gonna be other books
Was,
potentially,
like,
no?
did the Russians
That's my
clean up shop and switch leaders in Boston? Like, what happens there?
what Yep.
What's the relationship with Griffin and Patty? Oh,
Yes.
like, so many questions with this family. Um,
Yes.
but for the story holes, like, Hallie okay, Hallie did say, one thing.
Is it Hallie or Haley? Because I was saying Haley in my
You saying
mind.
Hallie? My bad. There was a girl that I grew up with that had the same spelling of her name, and her name was Hallie. Haley. You always say Harry. Okay.
I don't know that well, we talk about this all the time. You and I always have different names in our
Or
head.
Hales. Hales
Okay,
said something, and I was like, that's not true, sunshine." She says, "I never called out of work before. Not about to do so today, baby." But then I was like, "No, that's not true because when you went to work and you got confronted by this other man,
just left.
it triggered a panic attack, and you just pieced out, home slice, like, you didn't even call shop. You didn't even
All
call
right
it.
around, didn't do anything.
I
Yeah.
just
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
like, "No, you don't call off for work, you just don't fucking show up." I was like and I was so rooting for her. When she said that, I was like, no."
The writing was really clever. First of all, you and I both love obsession
Yes.
stuff. I just die when he's, like, fully obsessed with her, and I just have to say this one quote. I've got a billion
I
quotes, so we'll
tons
hit with the relevant one, but he says, "I'm a junkie, addicted to her happiness, driven to madness whenever I get a hint of her beautiful laugh."
mm,
Or is what was the other one? I mean, I have 18,000 of them.
I loved it whenever, like, they first meet, and he is so like, you get his point of view first. I had another plot hole, but that's okay. We're not even talk
Oh, no, go ahead.
well, it's kinda, like, so like, idiotic. It's like, she's a trauma surgeon, right? But she had, like, numerous days off. And then whenever her
Sure.
friend called and was like, "Hey, I'm coming down," like, Andy calls to check she doesn't even check her schedule to see if she's off.
Well, and the other thing that I got confused at is at one point in the hospital, she was, like, doing stitches and stuff in the emergency room, and I'm like, "If you're a trauma surgeon, you're not usually in the
Yeah, I was like, "That's
ER
poison
doing stitches."
wannabe. Like, stay in your lane."
Yeah, I was confused.
Oh, okay, so anyway, the point of view his first point of view when he meets her, and, oh, it's so cute because he's like he tells her, like, "I'll just walk you home," right? I don't remember the exact quote, but in his internal dialogue, he goes, "Christ, now I'm a fucking good guy offering to walk a woman home. I scrub my hand down my face. What the fuck is happening to me?" I was like,
Sure. You know what? Truly, because even his family was like, "Oh, well, who is this guy?" Like, what like, his parents knew that he fell hard
it was so
because of his obsession.
yes. And then
Oh.
there's one where he goes, "Easy, love. I was just trying to get, rides out of you." And she hides a grin, her cheeks turning bright red. So I'm your love now, huh? Well, you don't like lass. I was like, I
Okay, so this is one that I love. It's, someone he's asking someone, "Do you love" he's asking his brother in this situation, "Do you love this woman? Would you burn down the city for her? Would you stop breathing if she died? Would you kill yourself before you allow someone else to harm her?"
wait,
Oh
it keeps
my
going. It keeps going because then he says, "Because I would serve my head on a stake to save Haley. I would set the entire world on fire and watch her rise through the ashes, and I would end anyone responsible for misplacing a single hair on her head. And I'm not going to end this war until I know she is safe."
I mean, yes. He's he's up there. We're at you guys, I still really want you to go to our Instagram account at Morley Gray Babes and let us know your favorite book boyfriend, like who it is and what book it's from, because we're going to be compiling all of these and doing sort of one book boyfriend type episode. So if you want to
Wow.
have your book boyfriend appear in that episode, then definitely let us
I feel like I have so many right now. It's not even funny.
well, I the last 3 books, 4 books that we've read, which we're gonna be covering, they're good. Good book boyfriends. I I keep getting, like, goosebumps. They're really good.
So, I just have I have tons of quotes, but I wanna share 2
Yeah,
more. One is
yeah.
just gives you a little peek of, like, the internal dialogue and, like, the humor in this book because I think it's it balances the dark storyline as well. So, this is whenever she sees Callum, coming towards her, right? And he's, like, dressed in his suit, and she goes, "My mouth drops at the sight before me. Fuck me." Callum stands in his beautiful navy suit with no
I have the same car. I was just looking
His crisp white shirt is unbuttoned, a little revealing a tattoo peeking from his shoulder down onto his pecs. And fucked it, or they defined, chiseled, beautiful. My panties disintegrated into smoke, especially when I noticed the bouquet in his hand. I was just like, I just started chuckling because I was like, that was just funny to me. In that moment.
and first of all, I had that one down too. Love it. The one that I have right before that is maybe deep down, I'm okay with someone being a little shady as long as they treat the people in their life well. Maybe skirting the line of morally gray is okay to me as long as the person doesn't abuse women.
Yeah.
It was when she was starting to like embrace that situation. It just like, I mean, oh,
So I have the last quote I want to share because I have 20 that I
I know.
wrote. But
I'm
this
it's
last one,
upsetting.
it is a spoiler. So
Oh, good job.
spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear, just skip the next 20 seconds. Um, but Callum says, "This is probably the stupidest fucking idea that I've ever had. Killing my woman's childhood rapist and burying him underneath the property I purchased to donate to a charity under her dead sister's name. But this is bloody well the most romantic thing a man like me can do for a woman that I care about." And I was like, I know it's dark and twisted. I know it's dark and twisted. But I was like, I love it so much in this book, boyfriend, right? I wouldn't want anybody to do this in
For sure.
but it was just that level of possessiveness, and he's, like, trying to protect her and help her heal. It was just I don't know.
Oh,
Lordy.
all right. My last one, because I had, I think, 30 different things, is their their banter together, their snarkiness together is really what ratchets up this book for me. Um, he says, "Get in." My feet remain planted on the concrete. No. Yes. Haven't you ever heard of stranger danger? I ask, brushing hair from my face. No way. I'm not getting in there with you. He snorts. I have puppies and candy. Shaking my head, I smirk. Not my vice. His head glances up to the sky, contemplating what to offer next. Hookers? Drugs? My grin widens. Nope. Wine? Do you like wine? Callum giggles, his eyebrows grinning, my heart cracks. This intense man just made me forget all about the intense feelings that were swirling inside me. And I said, I do. And then after that, he goes, he wanted her he was like, "I'm gonna one day you're gonna say that to me getting married," or something like that. Oh,
Callum can do no wrong. I stand by it. Okay, so talking about Callum and their dynamic, we're gonna go into spice. So there were a few spicy scenes. However, the journey was geared for me, it was geared more towards healing. And I would say
uh-huh.
this book is probably like a 2 on the spice scale. Like it wasn't that spicy. There was some scenes, but it was more just her journey on getting to that point where she could have a relationship with him.
Yes, and we have talked
Mhm.
about spice levels, which are different, I think, than other people's spice number. And you can listen to that in our first episode. We talk all about that. I would say it's like a 1 to 2.
Yeah.
I guess I would lean more toward the 2, honestly. What about your overall?
Oh my god. Oh, Callum could do no wrong. So, obviously, this book is a solid 4 for me. I mean, I'm giving Callum a 5 in the book boyfriend department, obviously, and I highly recommend this for a dark Irish mafia romance with a burn the world down for her type of morally black MMC. Like, I love this book. It's not gonna be probably one that I remember, like, not my Roman Empire,
5?
the 5,
Mhm.
um, but when I knew we were talking about this book today, I instantly knew exactly, like, everything I wanted to share and how I felt about Callum. Like, I loved it. I just love this book. A solid 4, maybe 4.
Mine Yeah, mine is a 4. I said I'm unsure if it's a 5. I loved the read. I love the writing so much, so I really like this author, but I put a 4 and I'll give it space and then decide if it's 5. So we read this 2 books ago maybe, and I think it's definitely a 4. I probably would have rated it a 5 if I talked about it right after. But then we had the other 2 books that we read, which are, to me, a 5. So anyway, which we'll talk about soon, but it's a great read. I highly recommend it. If you like obsessive, if you like, Burn Down the World for Her, if you like Mafia, um, oh, it is
I think the what I loved most about this book was that, even though she had a dark past and she was trying to heal in her own effed up way, and then she started healing in a positive way, seeking help, getting care, and being taken care of, he did not push her to do anything. Like, he protected her in his own way, and it was like he could see the whole picture, and there were
he took time, which he has never done before.
yeah.
Like, he never had a relationship really before.
Yeah, so I don't know. If you like that kind of, like, protective, obsessed male main character who just, like, burned the world down for her without hesitation, yep.
Hi yeah. Really recommend. Thanks for tuning in, babes. If you loved hanging out with us today, don't forget to check out the show notes for all the juicy details and, of course, the links to get your book. You can also join our chat for exclusive updates and behind the scenes goodies on our Instagram account.
And, of course, follow us for more spicy reads, hot takes, and unfiltered fun. Until next time, stay morally great.